Well, hello. Here we are ready to work on our hips, which is kind of exciting because I've been doing that all week and they could use even a little bit more opening. So thank you to you know who for the suggestion. We're going to start in child's pose and we'll do some dynamics, some movement in the hip opening. And then toward the end of the practice, we'll do more static opening, mainly pigeon, which I know you want. So let's go ahead and find our way to child's pose. If you had a chance to read the description, our goal is to get to the aha, not the uh-oh. So in this child's pose, knees nice and wide, sitting bones toward the heels. Nice long arms in front. Your head rests against something. So if it resists, go ahead and place a pillow under it or stack your hands or something like that. Take a big breath in and out the mouth. Inhale. Release. And once again. Draw up to your fingertips so your elbows are off the earth and walk them all the way over to the left side of your mat. Maybe off the mat. If you have enough space to work with, if the bum is not coming too far away from the heels, you could go ahead and place the right palm on the back of the left hand. Stretch a little bit more all the way from the right pinky toe to the right pinky finger. You might even feel a little bit of an opening from the left hip around to the right ribs and up the armpit to the pinky finger. Inhale, draw your way through center. Exhale, come to the other side. Not a lot of movement, but a little bit of movement. Draw yourself to center, come up into a tabletop. You might need a few cats and cows or hip circles here. Take your time, starting to lubricate the spine. And when we move into our balance, we're going to do something a little different than we normally do. So especially if you're on the tube, you can take a peek up. We're going to reach the right leg long off the mat behind us. What we're going to do is we're going to draw the knee to the nose and round the spine a lot. And then when we come up, and instead of extending the leg, we're going to reach it upward like you're stepping on the sky. Squeezing the heel toward the bottom. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, lift and squeeze. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, lift and squeeze. Now extend the leg behind you and sweep it over toward the right side. Place the foot on the ground. Really reach the outer edge of the foot outward. Sorry, little air there. And we'll walk up into, I don't know what this is called. Doorstop. There, doorstop. I don't know what the Sanskrit is for that. We're going to reach the arms overhead. Drop the right hand to the right thigh and then glide it down to find a tilt. Lift, open the heart and under the left arm. Hopefully you're feeling something in the outer left hip area. Now we'll sweep into rock star. So arms overhead, left hand down outside your knee. You might need to bend your bottom back and then lift the pelvis forward and up. Maybe a look up at your right thumb. Sweep the right hand over to the left. Drop it to the ground. Keep that leg extended, left hand on the ground. Ooh, nice stretch. And we're going to lift that up and sweep it over the left calf until we can't sweep it any farther to the left. Oh, I found a pole. Plant the shoelace side of the foot on the ground and then go ahead and glide the front of your right hip back toward your left heel. You might come to your forearms. A little bit of movement, a little bit of static. Find the breath. This is not a pigeon. This is not a drill. This is a drill. Anyway, right now your front of your right hip and your left heel are close to one another. So your left knee is pointing more forward than it is sideways. When you rise back up, three-legged tabletop, draw the knee to the nose. Inhale, extend with a straightened leg, and then draw the knee to the mat. You might find a little movement is supportive here, so take that. And then some stillness. We'll take the same thing here, reaching the left leg behind us. Then the knee to the nose, breathe out. We're going to keep the knee bent as we lift that foot and squeeze the heel toward the bottom. Exhale, knee to nose. Inhale, extend and squeeze. One more time, knee to nose. Inhale, bring it up and squeeze. Now we're going to straighten that leg. Sweep the left leg over to the left. Keep it high to start. And then drop the foot to the ground. Press way into the outer edge of the foot as you walk backwards in order to kneel upward. So this is a bit of a kickstand. I kind of like the doorstop now, so maybe I'll look that up. Both arms overhead. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And left arm down. We tilt over to the left. If your left toes are squeezing the ground, see if you can open them up a little bit. Both arms high, right hand down. You might need to bend at the waist first and then press the pelvis forward and up. Take a peek up at your left thumb. Left arm sweeps around toward your right hand and then under your left shoulder. Right hand comes under the right shoulder. We float that left leg up, reach it behind us, knee to nose. Inhale, extend it back out, and knee to the mat. Some cats and cows, some hip circles, some hula hoop movement, whatever works for you here. We haven't done a lot in terms of warming up the arms, but we'll do that as part of our standing hip work. Hippie, hippie, hippie. All right, steady, sturdy. Hands walk forward a couple of inches. I cannot take a downward dog because of my left wrist, but you can tuck your toes under and lift your hips into a downward facing dog. Once you get there, find some pedaling out. Maybe you even lift one leg and open up the hip. Finding some ankle circles, opening and closing the toes. Square that hip back out, extend the leg. Let's draw the knee to the nose again. Inhale, extend. And the foot returns to the ground, downward dog. This time the left leg will lift. Open up your hips. Bend your knee. Find your circles with your ankle and your fists with your toes. Extend that leg, square up the hips, knee to nose, shoulders will shift forward. Inhale, lengthen out. And exhale, bring your foot to the ground for your downward dog. Find your downward dog, maybe moving around a little bit. A little shift in the shoulders, nod your head, shake your head. Rise up to the tiptoes, bend your knees a lot, and make your way to the front of your mat, a forward fold. We're going to go ahead and bring the feet as wide as the mat. Take your halfway lift. You might draw your hands to your shins. When I do it this way, I find that I can really engage the belly a bit more to draw the spine nice and long. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up to stand, mountain pose. Shrug the shoulders up to the ears, breathe in. Press them behind you. Squeeze those shoulder blades together, breathe out, release. Again, shoulders squeeze up, round behind, and drop. Third time, shoulders forward and up. Reach the shoulder blades together and release. Work a little bit on the opening the shoulders and the chest so the arms rise over the head. Press the palms together there and bring your fingers to the nape of your neck or between your shoulder blades. And press your head back into the pillows that your forearms have made. Pillows. It'd be nice to be back in bed, but heck, it's also nice to do yoga. Interlace your fingers and then press the palms to the back of the head, really opening up your elbows. I'm going to find a little twist over to the right. See if you can square your hips forward. Believe it or not, this is opening the hips in addition to strengthening them. We know that hips are truly one of the, other than your spine, one of the most important things for stability. Come forward, twist to the other side, and obviously for walking. And twist forward. Arms lift overhead. We take a cactus shape with the arms. We point the toes out and we take a goddess pose. Stability, walking, good posture, safety in your spine. I mean, honestly, if you put the spine just sort of trying to stand on its own, it's going to collapse. So you need all the muscles and the tendons around them. You need the hips to support the spine. Rise back up. Interlace your fingers at your low back or hook them and draw your knuckles down to the earth, lifting your heart. If your toes are pointing out, you might point them forward. We're going to soften the knees into a wide, modified chair pose. You might feel a different stretch like in your calves, in your Achilles. Draw the belly in and the tailbone down. Nice. And then we're going to forward fold, perhaps letting the hands float from the spine. A good place to nod and shake your head again. And then the hands release to the ground. We're going to take a little bit of a sequence 3 times, which involves moving into as much of a malasana as you can, but you're not required to go all the way into the malasana. So we're going to halfway lift, forward fold, rise up to stand, arms overhead, toes out, heels in, hands to your heart, malasana. And you might not come very far. Now we're going to go ahead and drop the hands, lift the hips, point the toes forward, halfway lift, forward fold, rise up, toes out, hands to your heart, squat. And again, hands down, toes forward, lift your hips, halfway lift. I think we're going to take more than 3 of these. It feels good. Forward fold, rise up, toes out, hands to your heart, malasana squat. Hands down, toes forward, forward fold, half lift, forward fold, rise up. This time, toes out, malasana squat, Stay for a couple of breaths. Don't worry if you don't feel super open. You might move from one foot to the other. We're going to bring the hands to the mat. And we're going to bring the left foot to the back of the mat. So you're in a bit of a wide-legged runner's lunge. Really reach that leg back. I just keep moving the ball of the foot backward. You're welcome to keep the knee up or drop it, especially if you have a wrist issue, and take your twist. Now remember, in the lizard twist, the pelvis is moving forward rather than down. You might untuck your back toes. You might reach around with your right hand to take a quad stretch, bending that left knee. Both hands come back to the mat, toes point forward. Tuck your left toes under, lift your back knee, and walk to the long edge of your mat. Nice wide fold here. Bring your hands forward of your shoulders, and then lift up onto the balls of the feet. Press the hips really high, let your head loose. As you draw back to your heels, bring your hands back, lift the balls of the feet off the mat. It's a good balance. Spread your toes nice and wide. And bring the feet back to the mat. If I could remember the name of the next movement, I would tell you, but I can't. So we're going to bend into the right knee, lift the left toes, and walk the hands over to the right. Yeah. And again, other side. If your feet can stay on the ground, great. If they can't, that's also fine. I mean, the left foot. We'll take two more. Two more groups, that is. That's 1.5. Other side. On. Back to the middle. Other side. That's your 1.5. And one more. Beautiful. And come back to the center. Bring your hands under your shoulders. And now imagine that you're pressing your heels into the ground to lift the hips toward the sky. Let the head hang super loose. If you have to take a bind to help loosen up, maybe a ragdoll, maybe hands behind your head. But you're not pulling or pushing, you're just letting gravity help you. We're going to walk toward the back of the mat, moving into your wide runner's lunge there. So the left foot goes way to the left. Feel this out a little bit. And then we'll take our twist. Once you've gone as long as you possibly can. So you want to feel it in your right quad and in your left hip and quad. So drop your back knee if you like. Untuck your toes. Left toes point left. And your forearm or hand helps that left knee move away and down. Pelvis forward. And left hand down, left toes forward. We're going to tuck the back toes under and walk back to the long edge of the mat. Toes in, heels out. You might shorten your stance. Football stance. So forearms on the thighs. Hands interlace, and then you're going to interlace in the awkward way. We're going to take cats and cows here. And remember, if you're feeling uh-ohs or ouches, you can release or change or adjust so you have more of a neutral feeling, or maybe even an aha. Hands to your hips, lengthen your legs, rise up halfway, rise up all the way. Beautiful. Arms overhead. Exhale, hands to your heart. We're going to find our way into warrior two. So you're going to pivot on your right heel to point your right toes forward. You might need to sneak the foot forward a little bit. Back heel should be out toward the back of the mat just a little bit. And then we find the bend in our front knee. It's a beautiful hip opener, strengthener, posture improver. We're going to really make sure that front knee is pointing outward, away from the midline. Reverse your warrior. Side angle. This helps a lot with hip opening. Warrior two. Reverse. Side opening. Side angle. Straighten your front leg. Feel what it feels like to have the hips and the shoulders in the same line. And then if it works for you, take your right arm and point it forward and then reach forward a little bit more. As far as you can go, then drop that hand, triangle pose. I've had an awesome collection of crickle crackles in my hips. So I kind of feel like they're now in the right place. I mean, they're already attached to my body, but bend your front knee, rise up. Hands on your hips, extend your front leg. Bring your front foot parallel to the front of the mat. And then spin on your heel to point your left toes toward the back. We're going to come into warrior two, facing the other way. Reverse your warrior. Keep that belly strong, side angle. Warrior two. Reverse. Side angle. Warrior two. Reverse. And last one, side angle. In your side angle, you have a really strong back leg. Straighten your front leg. Reach your left arm forward, pointing in front of your left toes, and then see if you can bend at the waist and reach that arm farther away from you, and then drop it for your triangle pose. Back to warrior two. Hands on your hips. Spin to the long edge of your mat. Shorten your stance. Heels in, toes out. We're going to find goddess. So drop your bottom. Arms in a cactus shape. Belly in, tailbone down. 5-pointed star. Lift up. And exhale, bend your knees, goddess, temple. Inhale, rise up, 5-pointed star. And exhale, goddess, temple. Inhale, rise up. Hands to your hips. And step forward to the front of your mat. We're going to take our final standing-ish sequence for hip opening before we go back to the mat. Ooh. All right, so we want our feet wide once again. Arms float overhead. Exhale, squat. Hands to the ground, toes point forward. Lift your bottom. Forward fold, halfway lift. Forward fold. Rise up to stand. Toes point out. Exhale, malasana. And one more time, hands down. Lengthen your legs, point your toes forward, halfway lift. Forward fold. Rise to stand. Point your toes out, malasana. If you have a half bind, a full bind, a twist that you would like to take here, if you'd like to play around with crow, feel free. I was just going to do that, but then I realized I don't want to hurt my wrist more. We'll take 6 breaths. Nice long back if you're staying in malasana. We draw the hands to the mat. We lift the hips, point the toes forward, and step the left foot to the back of the mat. Runner's lunge once again. Now we're going to heel toe the right foot over toward the left hand to find our pigeon. You may need to adjust once you're down there. No shame in using your hands as props. Make sure you have a lot of space in that left front hip. And then go ahead, take a back bend if you like. Move into your pigeon. If you need a prop to tuck under your right hip, feel free. And rather than focusing on the posture, we bring our attention to the breath. To settle the shoulders, open up the shoulder blades, let the head hang. Let the hips move forward and down. And consider here what brought you to your mat today. Used to be in this posture, I was counting the whole time and thinking, oh, my first teacher that I stayed with for a long time, Cheryl, she loved to keep you in this posture for quite some time. She never spoke during it. You'd be like, I'm up to 25 breaths. We probably are too. All right, walk your hands back toward your shoulders. Remove any props you might have. I'm going to tuck the left toes under. Come back into a 3-legged downward dog. And bring the toes down, downward dog. Make your way to the front of your mat. Spread your feet. Halfway lift. Forward fold. Reach up to stand. And this time as you fold, we'll come into our final malasana squat. Hands down, right foot to the back of mat. Long, wide runner's lunge. Heel toe the left foot over to the right wrist. Make way for your pigeon pose. Adjust as you need to. Back bend if you like it. and head drops. All right, hands underneath your shoulders. Remove your prop if you have one. Gonna tuck the back toes under, swing up into a three-legged downward dog. We'll come forward to the mat, the front of the mat once again. Rise all the way up to stand. Exhale, hands to the heart. Roll around on all four corners of your feet. Lift your arms overhead. Breathe out for your forward fold. Take your halfway lift. Forward fold, and then step back to your high plank. If you can, drop to your forearms. And you're going to use the balls of your feet to push your shoulders and your chest forward. Then draw the bony hips down for a Sphinx pose. Imagine you're drawing the mat back with your hands and your elbows. If your low back bothers you, you can make your feet wider. Draw the navel in and the shoulders away from your ears. Come all the way down to the mat. Arms might move outward so you can turn your left cheek to the mat. And the other cheek. The forehead comes to the mat. Cross the ankles. Press the bottom back. Roll over the feet. I'm going to crawl forward to make it to the middle of my mat. And return to a seated posture. You're going to draw the knees up. Lift the heart. Arms forward. Lock them into your shoulders. Breathe in. Exhale, a twist to the right. Arms stay the same distance. Breathe in center. Exhale to the left. Breathe in center. Exhale part way down. Lift that heart. Breathe in. Exhale right. Breathe in. Exhale center. Breathe in. Heart up, belly in. Come halfway down. Breathe out. One more round. Breathe in. Exhale right. Inhale. Exhale center. Oops, I did it backwards. Exhale left. Inhale. And all the way down to the mat. Stretch your legs. Stretch your arms above your head. Hook your thumbs. Broaden your fingers. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Like a nice tall pencil. Whoo, let it go. We bring the soles of the feet back to the mat. If you prefer A more Pilates style bridge, you can move your feet forward a few inches. If you prefer a more yogic bridge, the heels come as close to your bottom as possible. Wiggle the shoulder blades a little bit together, and then press the low back down to the earth. Tilt the tailbone toward the sky, and then when you're ready on an inhale, you press into the ground, the hips move upward, the knees move forward. Finding your bridge. If you like a variation, take it. If hands together underneath you helps you out, cool. Heart is lifted. Tuck your tailbone to the sky, roll the spine all the way back to the mat. Big breath in. Huge breath out. If you feel open enough to take a wheel, go ahead and move into that. If you like a supported bridge, you might place something underneath your low back. Otherwise, we'll move back into a standard bridge. The low back pressed to the ground, the pelvis pressed to the sky, and the inhale lifting us up and bringing the knees forward. The heart is pressed away from the earth, reaching toward the sky. Tuck your tailbone, unravel back to the mat, and draw your knees in toward your chest. You can give them a good squeeze. You might make knee circles, hip circles. Maybe you just rock left and right. But eventually you'll rock and roll enough to come back to your seat. Let's take the left leg long, bend the right knee for our twist. Inhale, front and center, drop that knee out to the right. Square your heart toward your left knee, belly in, nice and long spine. We're going to walk the hands forward, nice and slow, reaching the heart past the foot. For Janu Shirshasana, you might need to bend your left knee. Rise back up, both legs extend. Adjust yourself to sit nice and tall. Reach the heart, past the feet, crawl the hands down the outsides of the legs. Slowly rise up nice and tall in your seat. Scoop the left foot onto the ground for your twist to the left. Draw your heart front and center, Janu Shirshasana. Drop that left knee out to the left, sit up tall. Heart is aiming past your toes and reach your heart that direction as you walk your hands down the outside of the leg. Rise back to your seat. Paschimottanasana once again. Sit up nice and tall. Heart reaches as the hands walk. Rise back up, gaining benefit from our hip opening. The soles of the feet draw together. Scoop your bottom toward your heels. You might stay up straight. You might peel the feet open like a book and find a fold. You might find a back bend here. We'll make our way in a couple of steps down to Supta Konasana. So we're going to take our hands behind us. The fingers point toward your bottom. You come onto one forearm and then the other. Let the legs open, drape open. Then press into the forearms and lengthen the torso and lift the heart, drop the head back, opening up your communication, your purification chakra, the throat chakra. Breathe. Slowly, you're going to round your spine toward the earth, release your elbows, and make your way into Supta Konasana. A hand on the belly and a hand on the heart. Just noticing the breath. Maybe noticing how different the hips feel in this moment. Big, big, big breath in. Generous breath out. Use the hands to help the soles of the feet come back to the mat. Make a little space between them. Cross your right your right knee over your left knee. And then shift your hips to the left, dropping the knees to the right. Arms can flop out in a T. The gaze will move opposite the knees. I know that's a lot of instruction, but it's a twist. Feel from the inside of the right shoulder blade, energy moving down the back and around to the front of the left hip, maybe even into the thigh. Very gently scoot that left foot toward the center of the mat so your back can return to the mat. Unravel from this pretzel and take it all to the other side. Nose points up, right heel squiggles toward the center of the mat. Square up your hips and a happy baby. Furry baby. You might find a rock left and right feels really good. Moving your legs can help one at a time. I saw an image of a baby asleep sucking its big toe yesterday. I was like, wow, that's like the miracle of being young. All right, make your way into your final resting posture. That might be with legs up the wall or feet on the ground or seated, or the more traditional. Wherever you are, you're going to fill up with breath and then release any remaining stress or toxins. Here we are effortless. Knowing that because we're human, we might see, hear, think something. That's okay. You don't have to spend time with it. You don't have to respond to it. You can just let it float on. Breathe in now all the way from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. Release. Find your way to your seat in whatever way makes sense to you. You might rock and roll. You might come to your side first. And once in your seat, your palms pressed together at your heart. Our live version of this takes place on Labor Day weekend. But even if it were not Labor Day, we can always take a moment in gratitude for ourselves and for all those around us and all those we don't know who work hard to bring food to our table, shelter over us, and kindness. Allow the sun knuckles to connect to the center of the forehead. We bow to ourselves, to one another, and to all those individuals who contribute to our ability to be alive. Namaste. Well, thank you so much for being here. And as always, if you have a chance to come into the studio, come on in. A notification that as of September 1st, prices will rise just very slightly given the rise in the cost of living. But obviously, this is always donation only, especially for those who don't have the funding to take yoga either in that moment or over a long period of time. We are here for you. Hope to see you soon. Thank you.